I actually watched this film years ago because I had a crush on one of my professors at university who really liked this film. She did. And I know this because I stalked her on social media and was very obsessed with her and may have cried over her. Moving on. Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video I'm just going to be reviewing the 1971 film Daughters of Darkness as a part of my lesbian vampire film review series that nobody asked for. As a disclaimer, this film is rather erotic, but all of the eroticism pretty much is heterosexual. So I feel like my core audience should be aware of that, just in case they were thinking of watching this film and went in with different expectations. That said, there is some very obvious lesbianism in this film. Obviously, otherwise why would I be talking about it? But any physical portrayals are rather reserved, which we'll talk more about later, but that's the disclaimer. It is. If you're not familiar with this film, Daughters of Darkness is about a newlywed couple who encounter a mysterious, strikingly beautiful countess whilst passing through a vacation resort. So, first of all, I think this film is beautifully crafted. The cinematography and the art direction really impressed me, and I could tell that a lot of care was taken to make this film as visually impressive as it is. It's full of some really beautiful shots and some really beautiful women, which tends to be a winning combination. It does. The film also has a very dreamlike quality to it. It's rather atmospheric, and even though it's slow to unfold, every single scene is rich and engaging. The mise-en-scene, the actors, the fashion, and the dialogue are all intriguing. Fascinating even. Really though, the highlight of this film is the Countess, played by Delphine Seyrig. I was just captivated by her charisma, her charm, and her emotional range. I also like that she knits. You know, she's serving looks and serving yarn. Again, the range. My favourite scene in this film is when the Countess is wearing a Dracula-esque cape, and there's a wonderful shot of her standing with it open before she folds it around Valerie. I feel like this scene is a prominent example of the film's artistic splendour and visual expression, and that scene conveyed so much through visual expression alone, which I appreciated. So, as I mentioned earlier, this film is highly erotic. Some of the nudity did feel gratuitous, but it was made in the 70s, so I knew the score going in. I did. Now, this is likely due to the time in which this film was made. But when you compare the portrayal of heterosexuality, which is incredibly explicit in this film, to the film's portrayal of lesbianism, there's a stark difference. You don't even see the Countess and Valerie kiss on the lips. It's implied, but you don't actually see it. And in their quote-unquote love scene, I'm 110% sure that the Countess was actually played by a body double wearing a wig. It was just incredibly wooden and uncomfortable to watch. That said, the Countess doesn't actually have any romantic involvement with men throughout this entire film. There is a scene where her and Stefan bond, so to speak, over violence temporarily, but as far as relationships and physical expressions of desire go, the Countess is only with women, and that's really quite rare to have a main female character who isn't involved with men in some way, especially from this type of film in this period. So the lesbian representation is both progressive and stale in this film. I think the ending of this film is also interesting because it's very rare for a horror film, particularly the older ones, to allow a promiscuous female character, or just a female character with any expression of sexuality, to survive. And I like that Valerie was the one who lived, albeit as a vampire, out of all the main characters, considering her role in this film. So the ending of this film is yet another aspect which helps it to stand out against the handful handful of other lesbian vampire films. And the ending is another area in which I consider this film to be somewhat progressive. So, moving on to my criticisms, or perhaps I have questions rather than criticisms. And my first question is, what is the messaging about in this film? What is the intent behind this film? Because there's a repetitive theme of violence against women in this film, and both characters who perpetuate this violence end up dead. The victim is the one who survives. So in that way, I feel like this film leans towards being a feminist one, or at least one which sympathises with women against predators. But there's also clear dialogue pertaining to feminist talking points in this film. For example, when the Countess tells Valerie that all men want to turn women into slaves, but it's the Countess herself who is guilty of doing just that. And she's also a villain, so are her words also meant to be taken as villainous? This was unclear to me and raised questions about the quote-unquote feminism in this film. My second question is about a character named Mother, who is, I think, very obviously a gay man, and who, as I understood it, is one Stefan is involved with. After Mother and Stefan speak on the phone, Stefan becomes incredibly violent towards Valerie, and I wanted to know what the connection was there. Was Stefan a repressed homosexual? Was he bisexual? Was being ashamed of his sexuality a motivation for his violence? I wasn't sure how to interpret it, and if he was bisexual or a gay man in denial, it's interesting to me that both the gay characters, or implied to be gay characters in this film, were abusive and evil. And I know it's a horror film, so it could just be a coincidence, but again, I'd quite like to know what the intent was with all of that. There must have been a reason that they included the mother character, and I'm just not sure what that reason was. Just have questions. Just have questions. Overall, I'm not really sure how I feel about this film. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think I just feel neutral. I mean, it's well made, it's beautifully crafted, and I appreciate it for what it is within the confines of that time period. But there are just parts of it which felt a little bit neglected and, for want of a better word, foggy in places. But what I will say is I think that this film is worth watching just for the Countess alone. I mean, she is something else. Okay guys, if you've seen Daughters of Darkness, let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. If you're a lesbian, if you're a woman who enjoys lesbian vampires, come and join the Sapphic Underground Club. Just come and join it. Women who are hundreds of years old are especially welcome. They are. Don't forget to subscribe for instant disappointment, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.